It's wonderful to be here. I had a chance to open the program yesterday, and it gave me the opportunity to get into this life vision experience, which is really not hard. As we were just discussing, Jill and I got that tingle. I got that tingle when I started to look at when Dr. Reichman was putting up the life vision of putting it together and talking about this grand vision, the greatness of chiropractic, not being held to ourselves, but being brought out into the world each and every way we can. And so I think that we'll spend the next 19 minutes and 11 seconds talking about this opportunity that started a way long time ago. Now, chiropractic in itself is a relatively young and maturing profession, but the notion of healing has always been about this inside-out perspective. This anomaly that we understand, which is allopathic medicine, is really just that. It's an anomaly in how the human history has evolved. There isn't a human that has emerged on Earth that hasn't known in some form, we call that innate, that there is this wisdom within the body that allows all to happen in sequence in an organized way, and that it isn't sickness that is our birthright, it is wellness and creativity and greatness, if we want to talk about that. And so when we think about where chiropractic is positioned in this continuum between allopathy and vitalism, who in heaven's name would ever choose to align their life and their health towards the allopathic mechanistic model when there is this grandeur of something that says, we are great, we have always been great, we just don't even know how great we can be. And so chiropractic is that answer to allow this greatness to emerge. And I think that that's where some of the confusion lies at times, because so often what we want to do is we want to describe ourselves as some form of relevance to the person in front of us, and we get afraid of that opportunity to talk about greatness. And I think that one of those great stumbling blocks that happens is that when you cross that Rubicon, when you get past that notion that it's all right to talk about the greatness within, that you don't have to talk about the smallness of symptoms, but instead the bigness of life that is coming within you, then that is where you step out and you start to realize that miracles are not the occasion, but that the Carloses happen every day. Maybe not to magnitude, but they happen every day in every way when you put your hands with passion and with certainty into a patient's, not spine, but into their conscious nervous system. And so it's really up to us as practicing chiropractors to do it right. That's the story that we need to take away from a weekend full of this love and this purpose and this inspiration that we have here, is that we need to walk away from a weekend like this with this intention of not doing it better, but doing it right. Because there is a right way to be a chiropractor and there is a not right way to be a chiropractor. Does everybody get that there is this distinction? And although we might describe this as some form of a continuum, because there's always learning, there is a point where you have to make a decision, this step and this point, this stake in the ground of where you make the decision that you are either in chiropractic or you are not in chiropractic. It's not okay to pretend you're a chiropractor, but say you're a chiropractor. Not in today's world. Because there are forces that are out there that will pull you if you are not so sure as to what chiropractic means and how you want to express chiropractic. And if you start to believe in the naysayers or the gray areas of what the belief system of chiropractic is, then I guarantee you one thing from my great old wisdom of being in the trenches for too many years, you will become one of them. The passion of being part of a community expresses itself in just that, is this sense that I am centered and I have certainty. I know that I know that I know that chiropractic works when delivered with passion, with the ability to give, to love, to serve, and to do. These are not haphazard terms. This isn't some type of inspirational, mind-washing, brainwashing experience. This is science. The science of chiropractic perhaps even trumps the whole notion of what the belief in chiropractic is. Chiropractic continues to exist, chiropractic continues to flourish in certain communities and emerging countries because of one simple fact, and that is that it works. And it works not occasionally, but every time. And it works because it is based upon the immutable facts that there is a spark that we refer to as the life force, the élan vital, and that it is craving at all times the opportunity to express itself in the tissues of the body, but more importantly, in the expression of the humanness that is in each of us. We have 12 billion success stories within our bodies. These success stories are the DNA, are the cells and the DNA that build us to be who we are as we stand and function in gravity and breathe the air and do what we do. These 12 billion success stories are not there because of a haphazard experience. They are there because of this continual quest, this logical progression that says the life force is striving at all times, to get the most out of the experience in front of it. It is designed at all times to put you in a safe enough place so that you can learn to survive, but it doesn't stop there. Is that the DNA inside of you is programmed to understand what it is to be creatively thriving. And if you can sit down and with the power of an adjustment, awaken this ability of the body to allow a Carlos to feel life coursing through him, that is an amazing experience for all of you to have. And the only thing that I wish in my life as a chiropractor was that I had been conscious enough to deliver a Carlos adjustment with every adjustment that I gave. Honestly, I wish I had have, and I think in many times I did, but there is that separation between being just who you are and being in that near perfect state. If you haven't been on a mission trip, there's something about it that drives you to experience that. I had the gift of being on probably the second mission trip to Panama with Sig. And Sig and I went up into the mountains and we adjusted and we changed lives, just as you saw with Dr. Mike there. And we had our own Carloses and we had all of those remarkable experiences, but it was that sense of honor. Did you see the love in that grandparents' eyes as they carried that Carlos baby that was there? Did you see how they had moved their lives to support this person? And this is what we do, is that when we change one life, we change multitudes of lives. Just like in the same way that if you change one cell, there is a communication between the 12 billion other cells that are in there. We allow life not to just manage disease, but we allow life to manage expression of greatness. And this is the power that we have. This is vitalism. And when you walk in your office, it is that choice that you have, that choice that says, will I choose to express greatness with my adjustments, or will I choose to be merely average and support the management of the symptoms that the patient wants recovered? And this is where that sense of trust and truth comes out, is you have to have that certainty that says that if I stay true to the vision, if I stay true to the understanding, if I stay true to the science of chiropractic, that if I awaken and do what Stevenson said, the two most powerful words in the dictum of chiropractic came from Stevenson in 1937 when he wrote in an addendum version that the reason that chiropractic exists and the purpose of chiropractic summed up in two words, and those words were to arouse innate. That's what an adjustment does. An adjustment arouses innate. It couldn't be simpler than that. And if your intention is that when you take the contact, is that when you express your life through the contact of that perfect adjustment, and your intention and your delivery is to arouse innate, then you stand back and you let it flow. That's one of the hardest things that you'll learn in practice, is just stand back. is just stand back and get to trust that innate is always the intelligent outcome. Stop trying to outthink the thinker. It just doesn't work. So does anybody in here know what the root derivative of the word trust is? It's truth. To understand, to trust what you have to know a truth. And the truth is, multitudes of experiences and of time have proven over and over and over again that the experience of being human is related to how functional the central nervous system is at experiencing itself in its environment. It's the truth. It's the truth that we were blessed with this incredibly sentient, intelligent, organizing central nervous system, which under the guidance of this innate power allows greatness to express itself. But basically, if you're walking around with clogged filters and you can't interpret your environment, then it is, like we said yesterday, garbage in, garbage out. You just have a stilted perfection, and it isn't right. You learn to live with a cement hat. You learn to live with a glass ceiling. You learn to live with a jaded perspective as to what you could have. And here's the saddest part of all of what I said there, is that you don't know it's going on. Your perspective is your own perspective, and if you can't see with 360 vision and with spherical vision so that you understand exactly who you are and what you are, you tend to believe that the world is this big. And so when we talk about this mission of chiropractic, and we don't just talk about a mission trip, but we talk about the greatness mission, which is just what Dr. Reichman was talking about this Life Force 1000, it's not about you alone. It's about joining forces and being part of a movement. And this is this great opportunity we all have. You know, sometimes I sit around and I look at the state of our profession, and I think that so often we could almost sum it up as being like a series of Somali warlords, that each one has their own little culture, and what they really want to do is just have a turf war and fight everybody amongst themselves. As I heard it best described, it's the only profession that circles the wagons and shoots inwards. But you know, the realities is that what we really need to do more than anything is fall in love with the principles that Dr. Reichman put forward to us in the luncheon. And that is, and they're very simple. There was this incredibly attuned man that somewhere in and around 1895, but a little earlier than that, decided to set up in my hometown, which is, you might think, somewhere in Davenport, Iowa, but that's not the truth, is that Dede was a Canadian. Dede was a Canadian, and he set up in a little town called Port Perry, which at the time was in what's called Pickering Township, and I built my practice in Pickering Township, probably because of that. I didn't know it at the time. But I sit in the cradle of where the formative years of Dede making his decisions as to what chiropractic, he didn't know it was chiropractic then, but what the decisions would be to move it forward. In fact, I invite you to come into our area sometime and as a history lesson, come into Palmer Park, because a group of us decided that it was worthy to have a history that was something that we believed in, and there was a dedication in that area of Port Perry, and we erected a statue for Dede Palmer that sits in there. And it started to deteriorate, and if you can believe it, we had a hard time getting funds to try and revamp this. And so, are you kidding? I couldn't wait to spend money to honor the greatness of this visionary that was in our area. Guess what? It's now a national monument. This area is a national monument that sits above us, and I invite you to come in and visit where your heritage is, because this was a man who said really cool things like, life is an expression of tone. Nerves too tense or too slack, and you can't be well. He also said, in a paraphrased way, that there is this connection between man the physical and man the spiritual and I call it chiropractic. These are the formative words and the formative truths that found what we take in today's science and describe this tonality that he talks about. And we now can put the science of understanding, the science of organizational, highly organized systems, and understand what he was talking about when he talked about life being the expression of tone. You see, he also said that there were these three vectors of disturbance that would come into life, and he called them traumas, thoughts, and toxins, the three T's, if you will. And if you noticed in the life force vision that was in there, they talked about physical, biochemical, and emotional interferences. Dede in 1904 said that they were the three T's, thoughts, traumas, and toxins. You see, the culture of chiropractic has always been about this expression of greatness as it related to being real in your environment. If you are Carlos and you are 2 years old and you get dropped on your head, you're going to create a big interference. And this is the physical trauma. That doesn't mean that Carlos has a back problem. That means that the tone within his nervous system can no longer support the ability to function in gravity. You could see he couldn't walk. You can see that he lost his ability to comprehend his environment. He needed to be cared for. And you could see that he had lost his tone, is that he had lost his ability to thrive. In fact, he could barely survive. And so chiropractic, in this sense of changing the lives and changing the people that we have in our world, is based upon this truth, this philosophy, but it is intensely practical. How could Dr. Peter Busick take one contact on a patient and open up a clarity of communication in that one instant? It's a miracle, because the miracle was waiting to happen. It's always there in every patient you see. It's a miracle waiting to happen. You are the instrument that can unlock that. And that's what Dede was talking about when he said it is a connection between man the physical and man the spiritual. And it is about resetting the tone within the nervous system. And how hard is life these days? How hard is life in terms of the stressors? Is it a constant barrage of the physical stressors, of the chemical stressors, and of the emotional stressors? Yes. It's a complicated world out there. Sure, we don't have saber-toothed tigers jumping out of the bush and hitting us. We have constant texting that's going on. We have constant interferences in our dietary. We breathe polluted air. How often should we be getting checked against the traumas, thoughts, and toxins that could be subluxating us? This idea of lifetime chiropractic care is so not a marketing model. It is a reality. I can't imagine walking through the life and the world. I have 3 amazing children, and I suspect at some time I'll have 3 amazing children having their amazing children. I can't imagine a world that doesn't have a dedicated group of people who care about the future of humankind, as we can look at the vitalism versus this mechanism. I can't imagine that. And so when I get confronted with this opportunity to sit in a luncheon and see that the values that are being expressed right there in front of me are what the values that I have embraced for 35 years in practice, I get that kind of jiggly good feeling about it, because you know what? It tells me that my life has had meaning. It doesn't just tell me that I've served well in my community or that I've served to the profession, but it tells me that I served my soul. And as I sit here, I'm a very, very happy man, because I know that as I sit here and have a chance to talk with my newfound friends and this newfound community, it means that we can share together, and it is this togetherness that means that we together can change the world. Thank you all.